Web Radio on the America's Broadcast. You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock, and this is America's Web Radio. And this is Let's Talk Venezuelan. Dear friends, today Josie is not with us. She is working in another part of her campaign. Her campaign is in the last part of the campaign. Last week, she had a meeting with Dinesh D'Souza, the famous filmmaker, the Faith and Freedom. She also has another meeting with somebody that today is news, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. Did you watch the debate? Good afternoon, Brad. Good afternoon, David. What is your impression about what we outwitnessed yesterday?
You know, if they were out to change minds, I don't think any minds were changed. I think Pence did a good job, and he brought up the questions as opposed to really the moderator bringing up some of the questions. But I guess all in all, I've been disappointed in both debates. If they were out to change minds, I don't think either one of them did.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. The idea is that we, the people, check the real character of the vice presidential people. And let me tell you something. I'm very concerned about Mrs. Kamala Harris because she do not accept any kind of critics of what she did or not. And as a public servant, they have to understand that they are under scrutiny not only from the their other politicians, but the people of the United States. And she has a character that really disgusts me, really. So, it's something that I felt like if she right now is not discussing what she did as Attorney General in California, so there is not accountability on her actions. And being Vice President of the United States, you must to understand that in an emergency situation, you become the President of the United States, and you have to have the mentality that even though you are the head of the executive branch, you are accountable in front of the people of the United States of America. And she did not. She has that kind of attitude, like I am the big kahuna, and you have no right to say anything about my actions, and that's very dangerous.
Yeah, her comment about, well, I'm the only attorney on the stage.
Exactly.
And my thought was, well, you can take that attorney and go stick it in a hole.
Yes,
definitely. And I thought that was a very poor comment, and
very unrespectful.
Yeah.
And very, very unrespectful. Mike Pence acts as a real gentleman, really. Okay, he was discussing with two persons because the moderator again did not moderate. She was not on her role. It was a lot better than the other one. The other one was a real disaster. But again, I see, like, do you remember the old movies of the Zorro?
Yeah,
That he was fighting with another two swordsmen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I see, and now I have a new nickname to Mike Pence. You know, the Silver Zorro. He's a fox, really. He demonstrated not only having a good spirit, but also he was very, very presidential. Let me tell you something. If he goes in 2024 to the presidency, he got my vote, definitely. And there are some things that they didn't talk about yesterday. For example, the huge success that the spatial program have under his tenure. He is the guy responsible to revive the space programs since Obama almost killed everything when he said no, the Orion program is not going anywhere, and he suspended everything, and the Russians said, okay, now you have to put your astronauts on our Soyuz capsules or use a trampoline. You know, things that really, really makes us feel bad. And that's exactly is what make America great again. America is the country who succeed to go to the moon and aim to the stars. And you see now that in only 3.5 years, Mr. Pence create a new vision on the space mission. There is a new space force. We have 3 new companies that are aiming to the stars. They are talking about having a permanent lunar base and also going into Mars, the mission to Mars in 2024. So wow, and all these things happens because President Trump put the spaceship program in hands of Mr. Pence. It's a huge success what we see right now, and that's the kind of greatness that America used to have, and we lost that luster for the last maybe 20-30 years, and that's exactly what make America great again meant. So I'm very impressed because you can meet the people and you say, okay, he's a nice guy, but this is not only a nice guy, this is not only a gentleman, he's a very capable person that really takes a goal and fulfill it. Isn't it, David?
Yeah.
That he's incredible as vice president. I think we have really guarantee, at least for the next 12 years, a guy who will be very good in charge of this nation. And after that, well, I think we will have enough fortitude on the economy and to leave the power in hands of, who knows, maybe another Trump. I don't know. But his style, I think President Trump did a wonderful job when he assigned Mike Pence as Vice President of the United States. Definitely, there is some things that we have to analyze, especially the foreign policy of the United States, because as you remember, the Vice President of the United States by Constitution is the President of the Senate, and also by the Constitution, the Senate and the presidents are in charge of the foreign policies. But yesterday they were telling something about the killing of Soleimani, for example, and this lady says, no, but when they kill Soleimani, they retaliate against us. Listen, Soleimani killed 6,000 people, among them a lot of Americans. Do you remember that bloody bath in Mumbai a few years ago, where a lot of people died in the hotels, attacked by Muslims? That attack was responsibility of Mr. Soleimani, and many Americans died in that attack, including a little girl, 13 years old, from Georgia, that went over there as she wanted to go to the Taj Mahal and all that stuff. She got very good grades, and she went with her daddy to Mumbai, and she died over there with her dad. So when you put names and pictures on the victims, I don't care about Mr. Soleimani, and I don't care if they want to retaliate. The armed forces of the United States are to defend this country, and if they are the enemy, we have to get rid of the enemy, period. So that attitude that says, no, I won't attack the enemy of the United States because they could retaliate, that's cowardice. That's awful. And the same thing that we have to do with the rest of the world, especially some individuals that are already in the United States doing a very, very bad things since a long time ago, since 1975, when the Un-American Activities Committee was dissolved by Joe Biden, okay, and they said that the McCarthyism was out. But do you know something? The Un-American Activities Committee was created in 1917, long before McCarthy, because we have enemy inside the United States, and we as American citizens that came from other countries, we swear at the moment to naturalize us, we swear that we will fight enemies of this country, even domestic or foreigners. Okay? And we have a lot of problems, especially with Venezuela, because Venezuela has a lot of infiltration in the United States since the beginning of Chavez regime. They brought here what they named the Bolivarian circles, and it's not. If you remember, the Bolivarian breeze has a lot to do with these different clubs that are making politics inside the United States to change the mentality. A lot of the socialist mentality that we have right now in the United States is product of propaganda that is coming over foreign countries like Venezuela, and we have to address that. So the first thing that Josie is asking is to reactivate the Un-American Activities Committee in the House. That's the first thing, because there is a lot of groups here that are using our own laws and our own constitution to destroy this country. So we need to be aware of that. We need to pass laws on that matter, because it's not only the Venezuelan circles. There is a lot of communist and a lot of socialist groups that came and are financed in other countries just to weaken our country. And that's, for me, it's unacceptable, because I swear to defend this country, and Josie swear to defend this country. Well, we have, it's 1:15. Will you have a commercial break, or?
We can, or we can continue on.
Okay. The second part.
I did want to ask you a question before
Yes,
you go
sir.
on. Whatever happened to the oil spill in Venezuela?
It's still spewing.
The pipeline still spewing oil?
It's still in the same situation.
Has it gone on up into the Caribbean?
It's already. I have some informs that the most important mangrove in Venezuela is affected already on that. It's a national park named the Morocco Bay National Park in the Falcon State, and it's once you got oil in a mangrove, the consequences are sad, because you kill the plants and you kill the animals and everything, and that's the breeding place of 80% of the marine life. So it's very sad what is coming over in Venezuela, because that to recoup that takes decades. If using technology, if you allow to nature to do the things, it would take centuries. Really, it's very sad what is going on right now in Venezuela in that matter, and it's sad because you have a country with the largest reserves in the world of oil, and you don't have an industry because these people destroy the industry. And it's not just these people. This happens many years ago in 1976, when President Carlos Andrés Pérez he bought the different companies that operates in Venezuela and create Petróleos de Venezuela, or the state-owned petroleum company. What happened? When you have competition among different players, you got always a good deal, because everyone compete to be the best. When you have only one company, nobody cares about that. It's a monopoly, and a state-owned monopoly. For the first 20, 30 years, the company is working right, because all the people that you had there came from American and Dutch companies, and British companies, and they had this idea of working right and trained right, and all the industry was working right. But after 30 years, 40 years, what do we have? all that old people is retired. Now this is a second generation of people that doesn't care about that company, because the company belongs to the government, not to us, you know. And that was a bad movement, and that's one of the examples how the soft socialism leads to hard socialism, because you got at the end of the line, the results is what we see in Venezuela. Okay, there is no competition, nobody cares about what happened. There is no maintenance. Nobody cares about maintenance. Okay, and the future is bleak. It's bleak because you came from a oil-producing state, and you know that sometimes when you don't take care of the well cannot have enough pressure to bring oil from the well. Okay, it's a matter of pressures. It's a matter of temperatures. It's a very the oil industry is very complex in that in the engineering part, and there is a lot of wells in Venezuela that are completely closed. For example, the last informed says that Venezuela is only producing 350,000 barrels per day, and with that volume, Venezuela is in a brink to lose the status of oil-producing country. So it's sad. I don't know if the oil industry might be recouped on that place, because, as I told you, there is some wells are completely destroyed. The pipelines are without maintenance. There is a lot of accidents since 20 years from here. A lot of accidents in the refineries. It's a disaster waiting to happen, you know. And this pipe oil destruction is nothing if you compare what could it be. Okay, because a refinery or a place where a depot of oil, you know how bad it could be in case of an explosion, for example. Okay, and there are some refineries where the urban cities surrounded those refineries, and you know that's a no-no, and that's another thing that could lead into a big disaster. You know, there's a lot of things that are not working right now in Venezuela, and it happens because when people do not live in the freedom frame that our Constitution warranties, you are at the end of the line. You have this kind of consequences. And Venezuela, as I've told you a lot of times, is since 1935 is living into a kind of different flavors of socialism. And what happened? Well, happens what we have right now. So about yesterday's debate. What do you think about the future, about this election that is in 3 weeks, The election began. The early voting begins on October 12th to October 30. What is your impression about that this process? Because they've been talking about, no, if the president lost, so he won't recognize the, hey, what is that? I never heard that never in the United States that somebody says, I won't recognize the will of the people, and the media is making a sort kind of
they've been saying this for years. Of whatever election, whatever, it didn't matter. Obama wasn't going to release power, and Bush wasn't going to give up power, and all of these. The media is just is not news. They, like Trump has named it very well, fake news, and they make it up, and it doesn't have to be the truth. It's just made up garbage that they want to say.
I'm telling you like this because the other day, on last Saturday, we went into a rally that goes from Kennesaw all the way to the I-285 and ends in Gwinnett County. Okay. There were 500 cars and trucks, 200 motorcycles. The people who are our security detail said that they were from the last car to the first car at 80 miles per hour. We were in a standard speed of 40 miles per hour. Okay, so and it took them 20 minutes to reach the first car. So that means that this caravan was 13.3 miles long. It was huge. And the reaction, because Josie was in the second car of the caravan. The first car was the security detail. The second car was Josie. Josie was the person who did the speech before the caravan advanced. Thank you very much for the invitation to the organizers of this caravan. It's beautiful, and in November 1st we have the last one, where everybody is invited. And when you read the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, they talk about an event that happens only in Kennesaw. They took about the enthusiasm of the people for the speaker, but they name none of the speakers. Okay, so they are misleading the information, and that's misleading because it's the Atlanta Journal-Constitution goes straight to the Associated Press. So the Associated Press is receiving not false information, but incomplete information about an event. It's awful. It's awful what is happening over there. So, what can we do about how can we deal with that? Well, listen, just do it like the commercial, just do it, and let's move media, just like America's Web Radio or the technological groups like in Facebook, Twitter, that they are the ones who right now is informing the people because the traditional media is not informing at all, and that's very sad. Well, it's not news. Remember what Mark Twain said: if you are not reading a newspaper, you are uninformed. But if you are reading the newspaper, you are misinformed. So, and that happens, okay, in the 19th century. Remember what Citizen Kane said that you put this place and we put the war. Okay, so the misleading of the media is now is very always happened, but now it's revealed because they have not the same power that they used to be. And you see it. Do you know where do you see that? If you watch television today, right now, in ABC, CBS, NBC, you watch the programs, you watch the newscast, and you watch YouTube or Facebook, you have exactly the same image, different contents, but exactly the same image. You know, people who are talking in front of a camera in their homes, okay, and talking heads, but the looks, you don't have now a differential look in the television industry. So they are losing ground in front of the consumers, because the consumers said, well, if I watch NBC's ABC or CBS, but I don't have the feedback that I get into with the social media or with the technological media, where I can write down and they comment what I said, or I can even get into with these new programs such as Zoom. You know, the people will be more involved on the new media than in the old one, and the old one is condemned to disappear if they still have the same attitude that they had 30, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's very interesting what we are at witness right now in the media, and that's again people such as you, that you are pioneer on webcast radio and accompanying with video. That's this is the future. This is the future of media. You know, people who can interact with us, people who can deal with a lot of things. You know, and it's very interesting. So the media failed. The moderators that came from the media, such as this lady that was yesterday being as a moderator, that she was in reality help her the Democratic candidate, and having a lot of trouble to the timing. It's making a bad. They're making a bad work on things at the end of the line, because they have a license to transmit. They are authorized by we the people to transmit on air, and they are doing a very, very mediocre job on a something that is supposed to be at the end a public service, because it's very different that you, with your own money, with your own resources, putting this signal on the internet. It's very different than these guys that has a license to transmit on air, to broadcast, and doing this kind of mediocre. You know, it's mediocre. It's not bad. It's mediocre. It's worse than that job. Well, with that, it's 1:34, and we're going into a commercial break. We have to this week. We have some patrons on the radio station, my dear David.
Okay, we'll be back right after this.
McAllister's Auto Transport is a privately held company celebrating our 75th anniversary this November, specializing in enclosed-only transportation to the OEM, personal, snowbird market, and our favorite market of all is the collector market. Give us a call at 800-748-3160, or you can reach us on the web at mcallisters.com, and that's McCollisters.com. Large enough to handle all of your transportation needs, small enough to provide you the old town, old school service that you come to expect when you're moving your baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, I am Roger B., host of the Locked and Loaded Show on America's Web Radio. Join me live every Tuesday at 1500 for the best in gun news, gun products, and gun politics.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Well, this is America's Web Radio, and this is Let's Talk Venezuelan. Well, talking about what's going on right now, it's a very interesting time because, Venezuela is in a crisis from the death of Chavez about 7 years ago. And they are feeling the pressure and they feeling the heat from the American government because a lot of officials on the Venezuelan government has a price on their head, including the $15 million for drug trafficking that has Diosdado Cabello and Nicolas Maduro, the actual president. So, but the problem basically on Venezuela is that you cannot displace from power communist with socialist. That is impossible because they are almost the same, and they are negotiating a lot among them. For example, the negotiations that right now the former candidate Enrique Capriles Radonsky had to do with the government of Venezuela to go into elections on December this year. You cannot go into election with a communist system, because remember what Stalin used to say: it's not important who votes, but who counts those votes. And that's why we must be very, very aware what happened in any electoral event. Okay, and here, and I don't know in another state, but here in Georgia, we have a system that is brand new, that you go to the polls, you get a card, you put the card into a computer, you made the selection in the computer, and that selection in the computer is into the card. The computer prints out the votes. You go with that printout into another machine. The other machine scans the results, and the paper ballot is going into is keeping for is keeping up. So you have four different accounts on that matter. It's almost impossible. It's not connected to the internet. It's just a closed system, and after you are closing the poll, you check the numbers, and the four systems must checked. So you have the cards, you have the computer, you have the reader, and you have the papers, and all four must get the same amount of numbers. And immediately when you have the numbers, immediately you say it, you report it, and you send information to the Georgia Department of State that got the final numbers. But this system, I'm hoping it's almost impossible to destroy. But there is some systems, such as the vote by mail, that is the Achilles heel of the system. I'm against that the voting by mail. I think it's a lot more secure using a system by internet, where you can make this transaction of numbers and names by internet. If we do it for the banking industry, why can't we do it with the election system, but not right now. So the Venezuelan brave brutal migrant drought made tougher by pandemic. Okay, there is a lot of people who is still leaving Venezuela. They are leaving to Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Mexico, to the United States, Chile, and Argentina. Those are the basic countries that are receiving those Venezuelan immigrants. The problem is, especially for the United States, that a lot of these people that is leaving Venezuela, they were responsible for this problem in Venezuela. They used to be part of the party that now is in the government in Venezuela, and we need to really check very thoroughly who is coming into the United States. Okay, because some of them are not coming over here with good intentions, unfortunately. The problem says that the crisis intensifies over Maduro government, growing more serve as a result of low oil prices in 2000 that begins in early 2015, and a drop in Venezuela oil productions from lack of maintenance and investment. Okay, the crisis during the Venezuelan revolution, okay, has a lot of to do with this evolution. Okay, we've been living in socialism in Venezuela since 1935, believe it or not, when Eleazar Lopez Contreras created 3 different institutions that were designed to lost different kind of freedoms. The first one was the central bank that took the gold from the banks to the Venezuelan government. So it was a big thing that nobody either took care of, because they don't even care about that. So they took your money, basically, your gold, basically. Later, they founded the Fuerzas Armadas de Cooperación, the National Guard. That is not the National Guard that we have here in the United States, but it's an armed force designed by the Constitution to take control of the civil population in Venezuela. So the military are above the Venezuelan citizens. And the third institution is the national identity system, where you are not a person anymore, but you are a serial number of the state. So with those three elements, the following governments got every day, little by little, taking out your freedoms. Some people said no, but in the 40 years of democracy we had liberties. No, you don't. The economic freedom were stopped during that time, and the government says that they have the duty to plan the economy. So that's the result of 40 years of soft socialism, and right now 20 years of hard socialism. Already 60 years in the making, and more, because as I told you, this began just after the death of Juan Vicente Gomez in 1935. Okay, we cannot make an historical judgment, because at that time in 1935 we came from a dictatorship that came from a war, and the guy who took power said, okay, we need to bring the state, modernize the state. That was the thing. And he said, okay, what is the best government right now in the world? And it happens that the best government at that moment, 1935, was Adolf Hitler. And you know what Adolf Hitler brought at the end of the line to the world. Okay, a real nightmare. But that's National Socialism. Okay, and National Socialism is part of the fascist family of thinking. And remember who founded the fascism? That was Mr. Benito Mussolini. That at the same time, Benito Mussolini was a guy who came from the Socialist Party. So that's what you get when you don't have freedom. And that the most important thing is the framework on that guarantees the freedom. The other day, ABC News says that the president is not didn't denounce the white supremacists and didn't denounce the militia. So again, President Trump last year denounced the militia and the neo-Nazis, and that's not a point on the of discussion during this election, because the president already did that, condemned against the people who are racist and the people who are white supremacists or Nazis. But denouncing the militia, oh my God, that's a different thing, because denouncing the militia is something that is consecrated in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So you think that we have to denounce the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution? You are deadly wrong, because as you remember,
for a well-regulated militia in order to protect a free state. The right of the people to bear arms must be respected and at any level. So it's consecrated. The militia are consecrated in the U.S. Constitution because it's basically the citizens armed to defend not only themselves but the freedom of this country. So again, the media, and in this case ABC News, is doing deadly wrong. What else? What else do we have right now? We have only 10 minutes to finish this part of the. Let me see if I can connect with Robert Alonso and he's right now traveling to Jacksonville, Florida, and the idea is to connect to him, and let's see if we can have something. No, he's disconnected, unfortunately. Well, Robert will be here next week, hopefully. And the problem with Venezuela right now is that nothing is happening. People are losing the hope to be free, and they're losing the hope to be free because they don't have the formation to really understand the framework of liberties, of freedom. And it would be very interesting to form that people using the technological media and bring them the idea that they have to return to the origin of Venezuela. And let me explain you why. The Constitution of Venezuela on 1811 was a copy of the U.S. Constitution. It was very well written, and that Constitution was valid between 1811 and 1819, and was substituted by the Constitution of Angostura in 1819. The problem is that this Constitution never have been eliminated. You know, every Constitution, when you have a last article that says this Constitution substitute the other Constitution that was valid until now. Well, if you follow the tradition on those constitutions, the Constitution of 1819 did not has that article. So the Constitution of Venezuela of 1811, it's in a state of it's dormant. So there is a way to get rid of this government without using any kind of constitutional power or something like that, but it's just to reclaim the 1811 Constitution that creates, by the way, the Venezuela as a public entity and free entity. And they have a lot of articles that must be updated, yes, but there is a lot of things that the Venezuelans, if they really know what they are doing, they can get rid of this government without using any kind of constitutional tricks such as the Consejo Nacional Electoral in Venezuela, because that is non-existent on the Constitution of the 1811. So whenever you see somebody who is telling people that they can get into liberty using the 1999 Constitution, they are just lying to you. You must understand that the Constitution exists because in the case of United States, because every generation respect the Constitution, respect the frame of freedoms, and especially they are very conscious, as President Reagan once said, that freedom is one generation away to be lost. So we have to do everything on our hands to protect the freedoms that the U.S. Constitution is giving us. So, talking about that, the reflection on the last things is that we need to be again. And if we want to make America great again, we need to be again the lighthouse of liberties that we once be. The last president that really were acting in that way was Ronald Reagan, when he acted with Pope John Paul II and Margaret Thatcher to finish the grabs of communists in Eastern Europe. And he did it using the conscience of the people of Eastern Europe, and where the people of Eastern Europe who said this system stops here. And that happens in our generation. In 1989, it's incredible that it's 31 years ago. Right now in November of this year, 31 years ago, that the Berlin Wall went down, and that's that the same thing must happen in the Latin American countries, beginning with Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. Okay, and with this reflection, I say goodbye. Thank you, Mr. Moxley. It's been, as always, a pleasure to be here and sharing the microphones with you. I want to tell people that if you need advertisement, this is a very good media. We have a lot of people who is hearing us, and I think you can connect with Mr. Moxley. What is the phone number here to connect you, sir?
470-223-4979.
Okay, and what are the best spaces that you have here in this radio station? Because it's not only Let's Talk Venezuelan. We have a lot of excellent programs.
Oh yeah, and the Doctor's Lounge. For nostalgia, we've got Stucky Talk, and everybody knows Stucky on the highway. Excuse me. And a lot of veteran shows, a veteran story. David's Pick is a veteran show, and on and on. We've got a great host and great shows, and it is only growing. So we appreciate you listening in, and we'll see you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, I am Roger B., host of the Locked and Loaded Show on America's Web Radio. Join me live every Tuesday at